you've spoken before about the English language being a form of programming itself.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, as far as the awakening process goes, and if you can get past all the media bombardment and all the propaganda and all the sort of New Age sort of stuff, you're still left with this language which you used to think and you used to express yourself. Is that something that you somehow have to be able to go beyond to truly wake up?
You can go beyond it when you do know, and if you're lucky enough to have it happen naturally from birth onwards, where you can also think in pictures and sounds and so on. You have many other languages which we're taught not to even use. In fact, we're taught to ignore. Even intuition we're taught to ignore now and only go by what the experts give us as facts. Everything really is a language on its own, and when it all works together, you can certainly overcome the spoken word. The spoken word is the first con game, and that's why the Masons always talk in their lectures about how God spoke the world into existence. He meant all reality, the spoken word. And it's the same thing with Adam giving names to all the animals and so on. I've said this often. If you had a child and he asks what a tree is, when he first sees a tree, what is that? And you say a tree, he'll say tree, and that's the last time he'll ever think about it. The best answer is to say, what do you think it is? And simply listen to a ramble. You'll ramble on. But that's the natural way to do something.
Yeah,
everything is already created for us to follow. And that's the trap that we're into. Language, just like a computer, and they knew this many years ago, that we are basically computers in an extent in the conscious world. And the programmer who knows the language and the logic of that computer will know what the answer to a problem is before it's fed into that computer. We are the same. And that's how they use propaganda on the public today. We're fed streams of information, we process it in the way it's presented to us, and we will come out with the expected answer, which the guys at the top knew would have to arrive at. So that is the way that it works. It's plain and simple. Yeah.
So, when you've had a lifetime of thinking and speaking or communicating using language, how do you break that? How can you go beyond it?
I think really the best way is to understand really what we're saying. We don't really, it's so full of I hate to even use the word Masonic, because Masonic is a later organization of a much earlier organization that understood the creation of languages down through the ages. And you'll find every culture, too, is given a specific type of language for the purpose of that culture. I've had people from major think tanks who work for this New World Order, who've discussed people like the Chinese and how their language was formed and for what kind of personality it's formed for their purpose. They're a mass man type of people who are very obedient to the system. The individuality is frowned upon, and they're given a specific language which reinforces all of that. The English language was created to get a practical, working, and war-based people on the go. Old English, prior to Bacon and Dee and others, really was a form of Germanic, Saxon type of language. If you look at the writings of Chaucer, the real writings, not the updated ones, there's many updated versions, but look at the original ones. Most people wouldn't even understand it today because it's closer to German than any other tongue. And in the 1500s, with Shakespeare and the King James Bible at the same time for Britain, they introduced thousands upon thousands of new words which became the English language, and they were taught at the universities to make sure that they'd go out into the populace and spread it. All the ministers were taught it and so on, and teachers. So that's how the language was done. And at the same time, they were upgrading the German language in a similar way through Luther, and they created Higher German from his rendition of the Bible. So they did this across Europe at the same time. Even France had changes. The French in Quebec is more 1500s based language, and it's different from the updated later French from France. So this was a major organized effort by those who already run the ancient world, or at least Europe, to change them and create a society for their functions for each one of them.